And welcome back to another lesson. In the previous lesson, we started talking about iterators, their usefulness, and then the helper functions that helps to grab values directly, and some other things about the next method and about how they operate to access values. Now, moving on from that, let's begin to examine different iterator methods that we have in JavaScript. And the number one that we're going to be looking at is the iterator from method. So the iterator from method creates an iterator object from an existing iterator or iterator object. So let's take a look at an example for the iterator from method in JavaScript. So here, this has changed to JavaScript iterators. The iterator from method. So now the first thing to do to use this method is that I need to create an iterator. If you are still unclear about what an iterator is, you can refer to the previous video, last video, or check online. Now, so I can give it a name by iterator and then call the iterator constructor to call this. So which method do I want to use? From method. From one, let me pass in numbers as elements. Now iterate over the elements. I need a place to store the results, so I'll make an empty string as usual, and I can use the for of loop. My iterator x plus break. Even without the semicolon, it will work, but just for a good practice, that's why I'm using it. So look at it, we have 1, 2, 3. So the iterator from method, just as we have in the slide, create an iterator object from an existing iterable or iterator object. So it creates an iterator object. So what that means is that, look at this constructor. So it creates an iterator object from this, which allow us to be able to loop over it and iterate over it. So this is how the iterator from method works and looks like in JavaScript. Moving away from that, let's take a look at the drop method. The drop method returns a new iterator that skips a specified number of elements before yielding the result. So this will skip a specified number of elements before yielding the rest. So let's take a look at what that means in our code editor. So we are talking about the drop method. So starting from here, the first thing is also to create the iterator. And I'll just use the same thing I used last time, numbers. Capital I iterator dot from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now that I've created my iterator, I want to remove the first 5. Remove the first 5. using the drop method, and this is where the drop method comes handy. So how do I remove the first 5? I can assign it to a variable as well and say first 5 equals my iterator dot drop, and then I've passed in the parameter. How many do I want to drop? I want to drop 5. Now that I've dropped 5, what is next? Let me now iterate over the all elements, over the elements. And how do I do that? I need a space, a variable to hold the value from iteration, which is this text, and then I can go ahead and use my for of loop const x of first 5. Sorry. So the reason why we are using first 5 is because this one has been converted using the drop method here, which is now assigned to first 5. So that is the reason why we are using first 5. And then inside my loop method, I can add the result I expect to get, x plus pr. And now the output can now be document dot get element by id demo1 dot inner html equals to text. Now you can see that the output now is 6, because we have told this code here that use the drop method to remove 5 elements from the iterator expression that was created earlier here. So if I want just 2 to remove, I can change this from here, and you will see that it will return all the rest number. And if I want the 6 to be removed, let's see what happened. So it will not return any value. What if we use a negative value? What happened? -5. It will not work as well. And if I say remove just 1, so it means it will give me all the rest number. So this is how the drop method as well as the for method that we first talked about works in JavaScript. In the next lesson, we'll continue, and I'll see you while we talked about the other methods that are available. It's working with iterators in JavaScript. Thank